Okay, welcome to Integrative Preparedness and American Reversion. I'd barely gotten that other one up before. I'm putting this up on both again because it applies to both preparedness and the decline of our or the state of our world. Some of you have already watched the one that I put up about the evil around us, and then another one comes across the news here. Let me get the right one here. Columbia, Missouri. A woman's body has been found in a closet, bound and beaten to death. And then I also have a comment that was left on the previous one by one of our commenters that I'm going to read. The purpose of this, evil is around us. The average person cannot begin to understand the extent to which these things happen. Now, these will make the news for a while, because when one hits the news, then all other news outlets will pick up similar things. And then they'll go on to something else. But what the average person doesn't realize is these things continually happen. And just because they're not in the news a lot, it causes most people to have a false sense of security. Okay, I'm going to read this, and then, well, you'll understand. I'm going to read this. Columbia, Missouri. Again, it's kind of it's a very liberal town. It's where the University of Missouri is, with the University School of Journalism, which is a very famous journalism school. There's some other interesting things about Columbia, Missouri, but it's a very liberal place for the most part. And it's not what you would not consider this a big city at all. Yeah, I've already gotten a comment from the previous one, saying, well, yeah, these things happen, in small towns, but they happen a lot more in the city, and maybe that, blah, blah, blah. The point that I'm trying to make here that seems to be lost is this is not a contest, between cities and small towns. The point here is it happens everywhere, and you happen to hear about it more. You just assume that it happens more in the cities, and most people that talk about these things really don't have first-hand knowledge about it. My point is, you aren't safe anywhere, and you have to be responsible for your own safety and your own security. And that evil is everywhere. Okay, threats are everywhere. There is no place you can go and go, thank goodness I'm in a smaller town now. I don't have to worry as much. Okay, let me read this. Then I'm going to talk about another one out in Nevada. Now, this happened in Columbia, Missouri, the second one from Missouri, and it happens to be in Boone County, and our last one was from Boone County, Arkansas. Now, these things don't just happen in places called Boone County or in Missouri or Arkansas, but they're the ones that hit locally here. A Columbia man was formally charged Tuesday, that was yesterday, in the suspicious death of a woman. Adam Connor, 37, was arrested Tuesday morning. He was charged with second-degree murder and tampering with evidence. Now, listen to some of the details in this. A woman had called Columbia police Tuesday after allegedly not seeing her roommate since Friday. Police checked the residence, and I'll give the address, doesn't matter. The woman was at the residence, this is the woman who called, with her son Connor when police went to perform a wellness check. The woman, here's the first thing that doesn't make sense. The woman said her roommate suffered from mental illness and wanted to make sure she wasn't in the house. Well, it's her roommate, what's going on here? The officer found a closet in the garage of the building with a 40-pound bag of birdseed in front of it. Police found the victim's body inside the closet. The officer said the body was under a rug inside the closet with a wheelchair on top of it. The victim was a 58-year-old woman who allegedly had struggled to walk prior to her death. Police have not released the name of the victim. The body was cold, according to the probable cause statement. The victim's legs were bound and the body was face down. According to the probable cause statement, police interviewed Connor, that's the 37-year-old son of the woman who called, who allegedly said he last saw the victim early Saturday morning, but allegedly gave an inconsistent time frame. They always trip themselves up. Police asked Connor how he got the victim in the closet. Here's what his response is, allegedly response. Why would, I don't know. That's a tough question, man. Why would I don't know, sir. When you're talking to these dirtbags, they're all over the place like this. They say sir a lot, and they go, I don't know. Why would I? That's a tough question. Okay, I don't know, sir. I've never hit anybody in my entire life. I'm not that kind of person. I'm just not. Let alone hurt somebody like that. Okay, you folks who have dealt with dirtbags and dopers know that's exactly how they talk. It was later determined that the victim died from blunt force trauma to the head, so he beat her to death. Okay. Police interviewed Connor's mother, who claimed he told her on Saturday to not go into the garage. Trash bags filled with blood-soaked clothes were found in the backyard. One trash bag contained a bloody claw hammer that crime scene investigators claimed was consistent with the victim's head injury. Well, that's just legal, obviously, right? The GPS, here's something interesting. The GPS location of the victim's Life Protect device was at the residence. It was showing that's where she was, okay? The Columbia Fire Department was dispatched at 3:11 a.m. Saturday. Now listen to this, okay? The device was allegedly pressed 3 times between 2:57 and 2:59 a.m., according to the statement. So the woman was pressing her, apparently. I don't think it was Connor who was. She pressed her Life Protect device 3 times within a period of 2 minutes, saying she needed help, was in distress. Fire department was dispatched at 3:11. Okay? An employee at the call center allegedly sent a message to the subscriber, the dead woman now, and heard constant panting, but could not verify if the person was safe. Okay, so they couldn't verify that the person was safe. When Columbia Fire arrived to the garage, they had a code to open the door, but someone else had tried to close it. I don't know what that means. That's either somebody being very vague in one of these responders being vague in their response, or extremely poor reporting. They claimed the male in the garage was on the phone. So they did contact, apparently, Connor, who was in the garage. But they say he was on the phone and said the victim was at the hospital. And then they apparently left. Nobody called the police. Nobody checked to see if she was in the hospital, regardless of the fact that her Life Protect device had been activated from that GPS location. None of this. See, more indications that you are responsible for your own safety. Let me go over to the last one that I put up just not too long ago about the situations in Excelsior Springs, Missouri, and Boone County, Arkansas. And Augie, and you may have already read his comment, I told him I was going to read his comment. He said, there is a case like you speak of here in a very small town in northeastern Nevada. A 19-year-old farmer, a very self-motivated young fellow that came up missing, and some local misfits are a suspect, but not yet convicted, that may have played a role in his disappearance from Lucin, Utah? That is right near the border of Nevada. Some of you may be familiar with this case. Dylan Rounds, the victim in this case, was about to yield his first crop in a very desolate, arid land he was working on. His case has been a YouTube frenzy. I hadn't heard about it, but I don't watch much YouTube, so you all might have. Here again, Dylan Rounds was a successful young man, and a suspected few thought he had $31,000 with him in his trailer that was on 640-acre land. The small town of Montello, Nevada is not the same as it once was in a mindset sort of way. And then he goes on to say he purchased some parcels out there in the high desert with the belief of getting away from the city life, would be free from murderers, but not so. That's right. Here's another lesson. And I know this, as often as people say to get out of the cities and get into small towns, I don't like to keep coming back on them. It's not my purpose to hurt their feelings or to say, hey, you're not, I think you've got your attention in the wrong place here. And so I don't like to make this a city-country argument, although many others do, who like to say it's the city that's horrible. Okay, let me give you another example, something that happened very close to one of my customers just a couple of years ago. It was out in a rather secluded area, not in the city. A woman had people into her house to help her do something. Sometime later, they came back with friends, went into her house because they saw a big safe in the house, right? And figured it was full of all sorts of goodies. And they tied her up and beat her and tortured her all night long to try to get the combination out of her. As I recall, they didn't kill her, but they came awfully close. These things happen so often. And I wish I could get people to understand how often they happen in rural and small town areas. The fact that most people don't hear about them on the news is because the small town journalism and police departments and such don't publicize them. Okay, for an example, the highest rated rape area in Kansas City, you never hear about it. Never. Because it's one of the big entertainment districts. And the business owners and the city and the police department know that if they let these figures out, that people would stop going there and it would hurt their revenue. Okay? And so people keep going down there and getting robbed and raped. Don't believe the press that you hear. Don't believe just because you hear, gee, it's safe out here in the country. The country, and I'm not against it. Please don't take this. As much as people, attack us who live in the suburbs, I'm not attacking those who live in small towns or the rural areas. What I'm trying to do is let you know it is not as safe as you think it is. You see, there's a reason that people move to cities. Do you know why people move to city? Well, and I mean, in addition to the fact that most people are kind of gregarious, they like to be around other cities, and the fact that there's jobs there and all that. Okay, but they do so because in many ways they are safer. I know that's a big surprise. but in many ways they are safer. Why? Because there's more police, because there are more people around, because there are more potential witnesses. In some ways, the cities are actually safer. Now, I know I'm going to get some guy come on here and say, but this is, per capita, Kansas City is a very dangerous town. Yeah, it is. If you get down into the city, Kansas City is very dangerous, more dangerous than Chicago. Okay, but for the most part, the farther you get out into the country, your isolation alone works against you. And I was just telling Kelly earlier that when I worked my old district on the east side of Kansas City, which probably had the highest per capita of felons in it outside of the Missouri State Pen, I was always running into people that were either on their way to or back from Marshall, Missouri. You might say, "What's Marshall, Missouri?" It's just a little podunk town. I know. It had become popular with the dirtbags because of how thin and lax law enforcement was. See, the thing is that criminals know if they want to do something really rotten, go out into the sticks. Now, if you're living with a whole bunch of people, kind of a compound situation, you're a lot safer. But the crooks look at the country as a target-rich environment. No, there's not as many targets. Well, when a real animal wants to go out there and do something, they know for the most part, first off, there's not going to be many people around there to see them doing it. They're not going to be able to hear the screams of the victims. And the local law enforcement presence is going to be small, and their investigative techniques and abilities are going to be much more limited than a larger city. Okay? You have to understand how criminals and dirtbags think, and you have to understand how the truly evil think. Okay? Okay, well, that's my lesson here is, again, your safety is in your hands. You are not safe because you have moved to an area to where you don't, see a lot going on. You'd be surprised at how much is going on you don't see. It's going on. There is no magical place that you can move out somewhere and all of a sudden it's safe. It just doesn't happen. Okay? It's in your hands. For the integrative preparedness people, preparedness. Always be prepared. Always have your security posture bang on at every moment. I don't relax when I go out into the country because I know what's out in the country. Okay? And here again, a lot of people who have lived in the country, raised in the country, live out there, they don't see it because of normalcy bias, right? They think it's safe because it's never happened to them. Well, it's never happened to any of my close friends. They probably heard a story, but if you look at the news in the big cities too, you can go down into the worst part of the hood, and if they interview somebody about somebody getting shot, you'll have 5 or 6 people going, well, I can't believe that it happened here. This is a good area. And you look around them, and all of the windows have bars on them, and there's derelict cars all over the place, and there are dirt bags walking behind them. But you're going to get these people saying, well, these are good people that live around here. You know why? It's because they know a bunch. That's their friends. Okay. Same thing. Normalcy bias. Okay. For us over on American Reversion, we know that this country is going to hell. We have to be aware of these things. These are some of the things that we have to deal with when we're straightening this stuff out. Okay, we're going to have to deal with it. I deal with it in my books. I didn't even get them out here because I was in a hurry to put this together. My books are down there. Those of you who have read the Stonemont series, I talk about how to deal with this crap and keep it from happening again. And for people on integrative preparedness, again, this is about preparedness. It is about dealing with the realities of the world, not wishful thinking, and kind of a a false narrative that has led people to believe that there are safe places. There aren't. It's up to you. Okay. You all, I hope that I'll just come back with another one of my normal ones later today. But I'm here writing on the 6th book. And so that means that I'm seeing news and things. And if another one pops up, maybe I'll have to make one on that. But if I don't, hopefully I'll be back with more of my normal stuff later. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And that means keeping your eyes open, dealing with life through a lens of reality, not wishful thinking. And on American Reversion, that means we know what's happened to our country and the kind of animals that are out there, and we have to get this stuff taken care of, okay? Y'all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.